Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to this month's Grid Talk. This month, we're with Lace, and we're talking about how you go about creating world-class IP to support HR transformation, which, no surprise, but Lace have done a fantastic job of. So, yeah, we'll come on to that. For those that are new to MethodGrid or new to Grid Talk, I'll just give you a bit about us, but the whole purpose of Grid Talk was something that we wanted to give back. We're doing something genuinely that's different in how organizations are translating processes into playbooks. And we just thought we would run monthly sessions that allows clients and sometimes us and other speakers just to kind of share best practice on capability development and how you go about introducing playbooks into organizations. And on that topic, conveniently put, we are going to do, and it's come about by just a number of conversations that we've had with prospects and with clients, which is we've got all of these processes and procedures, but what is the steps that we need to take that allows us to translate process into playbook? So we thought that would be a good topic for next month's Grid Talk, and I think the link for that session has just gone in the chat. So if you have time, yeah, please join us next month for that session. Right, introductions. I think the majority of people know me, but I'm Pip Morpeth, Head of Professional Services for MethodGrid, and delighted to be joined by Becky. Becky, quick intro.
Hi, yeah, so I'm Becky Jones. I'm a director at Lace Partners and been working with Pip now for the past 2.5 years since I joined Lace.
Right, for those that know nothing about MethodGrid, and I'll try and get through this in about 5 minutes very quickly. The only thing we really care about is helping teams improve how they deliver projects and services. And we do that through our vision of trying to build a AI-empowered knowledge and project management platform that allows organizations to build their own playbooks. And we've got some fantastic clients, Lace included. Really, the whole premise of what drives MethodGrid is this shared problem. And I think we all have this problem. If you work in project delivery or if you work in a consulting organization, you will face this problem, which is how do you reduce cost of poor quality that comes from inconsistent ways of working, service delivery? And what I've tried to do on this is just highlight, after all the people we speak to, just what are the kind of key pain points that people face, and kind of 1, 2, 6, and 7, I think everyone says they struggle with, which is, you know, they recognize the way they do things is inconsistent. 2, teams find it really difficult. They can't find the information they need. They don't know who to speak to, which normally leads to people reinventing the wheel. Or 7, which is just, you know, it takes staff an incredible long time for them to become effective and confident in ways of working in your organization. Now, the kind of why so, and this is kind of the 4 building blocks for MethodGrid really, is fundamentally you have to provide clarity of method or process. You know, people have got to kind of understand a logical left to right, this is how we're going to do something. And I've kind of flagged that one as amber, yeah, because like most clients will be, we've got something, sometimes it's, you know, we've got fag packet and string, or actually no, we've got full-blown SharePoint, but actually it's massive, it's too big, and it kind of leads us on to the second point, which is compliance, which is I have no view of whether people are compliant with it, whether they're using it, whether they're compliant with policy, procedure. I'm just kind of lost at sea, really. And I think everyone struggles with that problem. I think we call it shelfware, which is a lot of process procedures live on the shelf and actually aren't used. 3, people capability. This isn't just about, you know, everyone hires great people. But what this is about is really what have we done to help people build confidence in how we want them to work? What kind of education, learning and training assets, what support network have we put in place that gives people the confidence to follow our way of working? And 4 is just about residual risk. Unfortunately, projects will fail. And really, the kind of our theory is, look, based on 1, 2, and 3 will normally determine the kind of residual risk that projects will fail. But you'll always have kind of audit and assurance in place And what we kind of want to focus on is, okay, well, how well are the standards and controls understood? Like what evidence is required by people? And when audit and assurance do want to review projects, then how quickly can they find the information they need to build confidence? And the kind of whole concept of method grid is probably built around the kind of bottom technology lens, which was, we recognized that actually if we merged knowledge, project and quality management together, and then we found ways of integrating with kind of HR systems, that actually that platform would allow organizations a better way of delivering process to organizations. Very simply, the kind of process that we go through is for playbooks is, yeah, you build a master playbook. I think Becky will bring that to life today. Once you build that playbook, and you might build different playbooks for different solutions, you can then clone it and tailor it for each individual project. And that's what teams can then use to kind of assign them to team members, track delivery, but also the kind of assurance end is you can build stage gates and you can specify which tasks need evidence uploaded to kind of build confidence and assure that teams are meeting the requirements for assurance and audit. Okay. Without further ado, I think, Becky, if you want to talk us about the LACE journey, and I think, yeah, we've been supporting LACE probably since you were very, very early in your day. So it's been an absolute privilege to kind of support your growth and help you scale. But yeah, if you could bring that to life for people, that'd be fantastic. That'd be great.
Absolutely. Thank you. Yeah, thank you everyone for joining. Hopefully you'll find the next 20-30 minutes useful. So a bit about LACE Partners. So we're not as big as some of the logos that Pip had on his logo slide for Method Grid, but we are a go-to consultancy for all things transformation, HR and people experience. And what we have a unique set within LACE Partners is we bring the best minds in experience across transformation and people experience, and we support end-to-end on that HR journey. So that could be technology, it could be change and adoption, it could be people analytics. And why people choose LACE or over other HR consultancy firms out there is that we're independent. So we genuinely will challenge our clients to make sure that we are bringing that independent advice and guidance. We're really practical, so we get stuff done. And we're really tailored in our approach. So you'll see some of the messaging that Pip's been sharing around the ethos of Method Grid and why that was set up, and you'll hear that commonality, I suppose, through to LACE Partners approach, which is why it works really well. We're with our clients every step of the way, so we know a project, it can have a slow burn at the start when you're trying to get your business case to sign off and get through to approval, mobilizing the team. But we're with you at every single step of the way, all the way through to go live and then into our what we call measure and sustain period. We're committed to driving value for our clients, so we want to hit the ground running. We want to be able to create as much value as we can in a short time period. We get it, so lots of people at LACE, including myself, have worked in consulting but also worked in industry side as well. So we kind of sat and stood in the shoes of heads of HR and our chief people officers. And we are fundamentally different. And as we go through the next few slides and how we approach the LACE way to kind of build out our IP for HR transformation, you'll get a flavour of why we are fundamentally different at LACE. Okay. So what was our approach really to the LACE way, and why did we go about it? So we had a significant growth period. We doubled in size in 2021 and in 2022. So how we used to do things wasn't quite going to hit our scale of growth. So we had a lot of new starters, a lot of new logos, a lot of new clients. So we really had to do that fundamental shift in thinking of, yes, we've had some great building blocks over the first 6-7 years of LACE Partners, but now we've really turbocharged and our growth strategy has kicked in. We need to think differently about how we deliver our end-to-end projects. And we had to kind of move away from it's in people's heads or it's a phone a friend. So, can somebody help me on how to do this kind of project or that kind of project? We had to move away from that and have a more consistent and structured approach, which isn't the two sexiest words, I know, but actually when you grow and you scale, consistency and structure is key to ensure that we can really deliver what we set out for our clients. Another area is innovation. So one of our 3 values at Lace Partners is innovation. So it's in everything that we do. And our approach when we're looking at building out our IP in terms of how to deliver that HR transformation was not just to rest on what we've done prior, but actually let's be really pushing our boundaries. Let's bring the wow moment as much as we can to our clients. Let's be market leading and forward thinking in that, which again was quite a fundamental shift to have a real focus on innovation when it comes to delivery. And finally, the last piece of the jigsaw was success. So we had grown rapidly, and that was due to success, maintaining long relationships, gaining new logos, gaining new clients. So actually, let's harness all that success of what good does look like. Where did we perform our best? What was the best examples we've got? And pull all that together into what we now call the Lace Way, which is a very easier phrase to say than an IP for HR transformation. But yeah, that's what internally we call it, the Lace Way, which we're all so proud of at Lace for developing that.
And Becky, this was kind of very much kind of leadership led as well, or leadership backed and supported as well, isn't it?
Absolutely. And I think, as any team grows, leadership grows. And everyone's come with different experiences and different ideas of how to deliver. But there was a real acceptance from our executive team that we did have to do things differently. And we had a real support from key sponsors in that executive team to kind of champion this change in the way of working. And it was a significant change for the Lacers to kind of go through. Okay. So just a bit more about the Lace Way. So it's a methodology. We have built out a number of different playbooks. Internally at Lace, we call them toolkits. So if you hear me slip toolkits into the slides in the next the next half an hour or so, we mean playbooks from a method grid point of view. But it's a really, like I said, a structured, consistent way, a methodology for every Lacer to use, whatever projects that they're on, and to kind of help break down our projects. We split them into 4 phases, which are on the right-hand side. So our first phase of project is we understand you, so we understand the clients. That's focusing on insights gathering, capturing data, analysis, speaking to senior stakeholders to really understand what is the problem that's being faced today, or what's the opportunity or the challenge that is being faced today for clients. That's like our first phase of our project. We then focus on, we co-create. So that's where we work collaboratively with our client and stakeholders to really build out a solution that's fit for them. So coming back to that tailored approach, yes, we'll have best-in-class examples that we've used, but actually what is right for our clients. So really tailoring that and guiding them through that process step by step. The third part, which is my favourite part in any project, is the delivery. I like to roll my sleeves up and get into the thick of implementation, but we are there from kickoff of implementation all the way through to go live. So what does that plan look like? How can we help you prepare for the change activity? How can we support through to deployment and adoption? And then the last part of our project methodology is measure and sustain. So actually, how can we test and measure everything we wanted to set out and achieve in the co-create phase, our ambition? How can actually we measure and sustain that? And by having that kind of approach to the 4 different phases of project, that really helped us then build out and align some of our playbooks, which I'll come on to now when we go through codification. But hopefully that kind of brings to life how Lace structure our projects, which can then help from a delivery point of view.
I think, Becky, on that, I think it's especially with the consultancies, or even like when you kind of run portfolios or projects internally, that kind of common life cycle, regardless of the kind of service that you're offering, but the kind of experience that you want to codify for a client that goes through is crystal clear. It just provides a bit more confidence and helps probably the different practices or functions actually align with, how do we deliver that best experience?
Absolutely. And no 2 projects are the same, but the approach to projects doesn't differ or change that much. So that's where it's fantastic, because you can have that consistent approach and clarity, but you can have that tailored layer as well, just to make sure that it does feel unique and it is bespoke to what you're trying to deliver. But yeah, clarity of language is key. Coming back to some of your pain points at the start, Pip, just having that clarity of delivery is where we often see projects fail. Okay. So just moving on to service categorization, and really how did we unlock the expertise within our playbooks? So within Lace Partners, we have a number of different practices, and these are just towers of work, if you're not familiar with the terms practice. And they're quite new for Lace as well. So whilst we were rolling out the Lace Way, we were also introducing, kind of really cementing our thinking around our practices and our practice agenda. So one's around HR transformation and talent. We've got a specific one for payroll, and then for people, workforce and analytics. And what really helped when we looked at trying to codify, so very technical term, our services against the practices, some of our toolkits and playbooks could run across all three practices. So program management, for example, is a really well-used toolkit internally at Lace. That's got your project plan, your RAID, resource profile, staffing matrix. It doesn't matter which project or where you are on the 4 stages of your project delivery, you will need a plan. So actually that sits across and runs across all practices. But then within certain practices, we have specific services that we've also coded and built out a specific playbook for that. So an example would be payroll strategy. So how you approach a strategy for a global end-to-end payroll wouldn't sit across any of the other practices. So by being really clear and spending quite a lot of time kind of demystifying the fog of all the services and offerings that we do can take to market with our clients, and that our clients are asking us for, it really helped us bring that clarity then around what sits at a practice level, but actually what underpins and can be used across all of our projects.
I think I think Becky, when we did the design, I think what we took from it, just the clarity of, this is our proposition that we take to market. This is, you know, what we proactively push, and then to have then these are kind of the services and playbooks behind that. It was just really clean. So a client is clear on what they're getting, but also staff, you know, probably have got more confidence that, okay, if we sell it, we've got something that we can use to deliver it.
Absolutely, and it's tried and tested, and I am sure others on the call, if they've done any kind of codification, it drives ownership and accountability, because every playbook needs an owner. So actually by doing that, there is an owner, and they also have confidence within their toolkit, and then, you know, therefore that helps in this example. Lace is having the confidence that there's a playbook there, it's step by step, they know that it's compliant, they know that it's auditable, they know that, you know, it's got the latest templates in, it's got the latest client examples in, and they're not having then to kind of rely on what they did on a previous experience. You know, they've got the best in class that we've got from my updated playbooks.
Yeah, I think the alternative is, you know, you're telling the client we've got it, and then it's kind of we got to make it up as we try and deliver what we've done.
It's never we are not in that position, because we have the Lace Way, which is fantastic. But yeah, and also it gives confidence when you're speaking to stakeholders, you know, on client, that, and you can see them, you can see that they actually believe what you're saying, because you've got examples of those templates, you've used them on clients. You know, we can show them previous examples, we can jump on and we can show them our grid. So it brings all that to life and really builds that trust as well with client teams.
I mean, I think that's probably what clients want. I mean, I don't think they want, you know, I think they want to feel unique, but they kind of want, well, if you've solved this problem before, I want to be in a pair of safe hands. Demonstrate that you're a safe pair of hands. If you've done it for like a competitor
or someone else in their industry, it's kind of like, oh well, if they've done that, then we also want to do that as well. And so let's take the best of that.
I think the other bit is, as we were talking about it before, is kind of when you've got practices and you're trying to, you know, practices will like normally span across capabilities, but like you mentioned, those capabilities are used in the delivery of different services. And I think everyone who's kind of worked either in an internal function or in a consulting firm, it can be like gang of cats trying to get them to basically agree on what do you actually need to do, what's the deliverables, when do you do it, what do you need, then what do we need, you know. And I think one of my clients phrased it best. It's kind of sometimes it can be gang of cats, but they don't even like each other. So it's, it's quite difficult to get them to improve kind of collaboration on, look, how do we best deliver this service? I think that's kind of one of the softer benefits of playbooks is really trying to drive that kind of collaboration with teams.
It drives collaboration and also a sense of healthy competition as well. So, which everybody has healthy competition. It's good to have in an organisation. But yeah, having that simplified view of categorization at a practice level, actually they can look either side to go, oh, well, that practice is actually really turbocharging their thinking, and look, they're really accelerating on delivery when they're on client. I want to be part of that. So yeah, it does help that as well. But hopefully we haven't got a gang of cats that don't like each other in our
No.
I will tell them that analogy this afternoon.
Cool. I think, yes. So I kind of wanted to put this in it, which is helped quite a few clients. It's kind of think about how you think about playbooks. Now, you can either think about this either as the kind of consulting services you offer, or if you just look at your kind of project portfolio, you can kind of apply this thinking, which was, look, there are kind of stranger projects or services, really, low demand, but, high kind of variability. For those kind of stranger based projects, we'd always need some kind of generic playbook, but very hard to kind of specialize, because the way it needs to be delivered needs to be highly tailored to meet the need of the requirements. I think the core focus tends to be, look, if I look at the services now, I look at my project portfolio, can I identify the kind of runners and repeaters? Because really what I want to try and do is, well, they are, when I try and build playbooks, it's kind of, well, look, if we kind of codify that repeater or that runner into a kind of specialized playbook, we can really reduce the level of variation. We can make it really easy for the client to buy, in terms of, look, there it is, off we go, we quickly tailor it and configure it, and we're able to deliver it. Right down to kind of where runners, you apply runners, it's kind of, if you're a portfolio owner, a kind of a lot of BAU change can sneak into project governance, purely because people haven't codified or written down the kind of procedure and process to do it. Therefore, it has to be treated like a project. And in some cases, what you can try and do is use playbooks to get rid of, or use them to codify runners, and then move runners out of project governance more into BAU change, because you kind of codified that way of working. And that tends to just probably give you a bit more oxygen or air, and your portfolio doesn't get cluttered. But also, when it comes to the kind of service design for consulting firms, what you can really look on as well, that's runner, that's a repeater. How best can we optimize it? How can we make it more efficient, more effective? How can we make, the roles that do it, more graduate, lower entry roles, and make it more profitable? But I think the core kind of thing when you implement method grid is trying to think about, okay, well, look, what playbooks do we want to design? What's the level of customization that we need to provide here? But actually, in some cases, what do we think the runners and repeaters are? Because that's where we can get real value, either in margin or essentially just trying to de-risk and move stuff out of portfolio governance.
Yeah, and we get definitely. We didn't have this terminology of strangers, repeaters, and runners, but I could look at all of our playbooks and toolkits and say, well, this is why we designed this one first, because it's high volume. We're constantly doing that, particularly in that we understand you phase. How you go in and understand and gather data. Doesn't matter where you are, you need the data, and we have templates and things like that. And when we actually built out the Laceway, we prioritized what we would categorize here as runners and then repeaters, because we knew we could hit the ground running, and that would make impact quickly, which also helps internally then from an internal reputation of Lace, of introducing the Laceway, and some of those more specialized niche, which you kind of got in strangers, we've built out now, but they weren't there for day one. That's something that we've invested the time to build out as and when there was a client need for that. So we could see some change in the market, and actually we think we need to respond to that market now. We think we should build a playbook for X. We would see that then in the strangers. So it's good to see it with different terminology on, and I'm sure I could definitely label a lot of ours in that runner space, which are playbooks that are used day in, day out by all of our Lace team.
Well, I liked Becky, the one I liked the most, your procurement playbook. So if I need to go and procure kind of HR payroll system, it's kind of that specialized playbook. It kind of not only does it go into, well, look, here's the kind of the vendor, the kind of procurement process, but here's all the vendors that you should consider. It's kind of like really specialized. Here's a standard set of requirements that you can use to evaluate, assess. And in terms of providing that kind of to clients as a look, here's an out of the box procurement bit we can take you through end to end. What do you want to buy? Here it is. This is our recommendation. That was, a perfect kind of example of a kind of probably repeater runner kind of playbook.
Absolutely.
Incredibly valuable.
And would spend weeks and sometimes months for the team to build that out prior to having the playbook, and now it's like great. And what's fantastic with the feedback loop, as new, because there's always new technology popping up, if we come across something new, we're updating that playbook all the time, so actually it becomes modern and relevant. So then what might have been a stranger's playbook of, we've got all these brand new technologies in the market and we don't understand them, we've completely dissolved that problem now, because we're continually looking at market insight to bring those that external insight into our repeater and runner playbooks.
I think I suppose that's the other kind of thing. It's just you're guaranteeing that every client benefits from it. Sometimes if you don't have it, it's kind of you're left to the kind of knowledge of the individual consultant. Whereas with the kind of, I suppose, the playbook, it gives you probably more confidence that every client does benefit from your kind of IP and expertise.
Which is very smooth, Pip, because we're coming on to benefits of playbooks for clients. So you'll see cool. What you did there. So very well set up.
Perfect.
Absolutely perfect host. So and I think for us, the benefit for our client, our number one aim is that they've got confidence in us as Lace, and from a Lacer point of view, that we have confidence and Lacers have confidence that they are strong in delivery and they can deliver high quality output. So it's both sides of the coins in terms of confidence and capability. So how the client benefit is tailored to each client. So yes, we have that accelerated selection pit that you refer to. It's an out of the box playbook that we can take, but we tailor that depending on they're looking at talent acquisition, are we looking at learning, are we looking at a core HR system, so we can tailor that to them, the size of the organization. So we have a great starter for 10, if you like, a complete jigsaw, but actually what does that jigsaw look like for our client? The playbooks as well have got a wealth of experience across Lace and those best in class client examples. So actually, as we are on client, how do we make sure that we are saving those examples and sharing those then with potential new clients or existing clients? They have done something really innovative and a bit different in this space, and we want to share that external market insight with our clients. And the experience we've got across Lace, like I said, we've got people who have got a blend of consulting and industry, or pure industry or pure consulting, and actually that experience is a fantastic blend to any kind of client conversation because we've been in their shoes. We had sorry, Pip.
I think the other side is as well, and kind of you kind of got it in the Lace way approach, but kind of when firms will say, or we'll co-design the solution for you, sometimes it can just be slight words on a PowerPoint, whereas when you're trying to showing them the playbook and then saying, well, look, how do we tailor and right size this solution for you, and get them involved in actually, okay, well, we need this deliverable here because this is our internal governance, so rather being, because some firms would like, you have to use our method, we'll force it onto you, whereas I think the reality of clients want to kind of design and co-design solutions and be confident in how it's done, but also from their side, the kind of buyer has to then kind of meet their internal governance and controls within their organization. It's kind of, well, if one's doing it that wants to do this way, then I'm kind of the middleman that kind of has to translate that. And I think the kind of playbook approach at least allows you to facilitate and meet that need for the buyer to say, well, look, I'm not going to just be really rigid here. Let's try and work out how we leverage our expertise and right size the solution for you.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And within Lace and our program management toolkit, we do co-create that with the client to say, well, what is your internal governance group? Do you have change advisory boards? Do you have to speak to information security, cyber security. So we build that in. And also the project has got to feel like it's owned by a client as well. This is going to be theirs once, you know, Lace has done their delivery. It's got to feel like they own that as well. So actually that rigid approach just doesn't work because it feels like it's done to them actually rather than with them and supporting them to deliver.
Yep.
The adding value quickly on client, we're all very impatient as humans. We're getting more and more impatient as time goes on, but people want to see results and want to see results fast, and playbooks have transformed how quick we can deliver. Pip and I were chatting earlier in the week, and what used to take 12 weeks is now 6 weeks for us from a Lace point of view, particularly in that understand phase, because we've got all those templates within the playbook. We've got a consistent approach. Laces know exactly what they need to be using when they need to be using it. So that is a massive success for client. It means there's consistency in approach. So for Lace, that is fantastic because, you know, his delivery leads, we can all sleep at night knowing that everyone's delivering in the way that we would expect. But from a client point of view, they can also expect consistency within the team. So, you know, every lacer understands the playbooks, they have a full induction, whether they're new or new to client. So they're receiving consistency in approach within the client team. And it's not like, I don't feel like they understand what they're doing. And finally, the effective delivery of resources. So when I shared that we doubled in size year on year, you know, a lot of time was spent onboarding, upskilling, people not being quite sure when potentially when they got on client, whereas now they've got the full induction program. The playbooks play a huge part of that and that upskill, and they've got that kind of confidence that they can deliver on client as well as the capability to do that. And then the client also has confidence that the team know because they understand what a toolkit is. You know, they understand what an accelerator is because we talk about that often with our clients. So anybody new who joins the team and speaking that same language just builds that trust and confidence immediately as well.
I think we were talking about the trade-off, Becky, weren't we? Of playbooks allow you to do things a lot quicker. Obviously, for a consulting business, that's somewhat, you know, you might lose on the number of days. We can't sell that number of days, but I think the main focus, really, I think the main benefit is, look, what you can demonstrate to clients is consultants are adding value. You know, there's no value really in a consultant, you know, standing up a project, going to try and find a risk register and who hasn't got one, and spending, you know, hours and hours of a week trying to find all the templates. Whereas really what we're trying to do with playbooks as well, all of that kind of 80% of what you need to deliver successfully is codified and it's there ready to go. Off you go. Where we want to shift the focus is, look, go and focus on the 20% of how you tailor it, right size it, and actually genuinely start building value for the client. Get the requirements open, get them to tick it off. Yeah, that's done. It's kind of, rather than kind of writing the requirements from scratch. Oh, we've got to write all these stories. You know, here's our preset written list for this type of solution. Does that, you know, that's incredibly valuable. And I think that probably the key differentiator, I think, for picking a consultancy firm is, well, which ones can actually demonstrate realized value quicker. And if you're talking 12 weeks worth is 6 weeks, it's, you know, it's a significant difference.
Absolutely, and it's better work for the Lace team to do as well, because nobody wants to do the sorry job of building out templates when actually they want to get on and hit the ground running as well. So, yeah, there's lots of benefits for both client, but also internally for us at Lace, and anybody who is using playbooks, hopefully are feeling the same benefit, that it is, you know, quite repeatable. You can trust the process that's in there, and then actually what you're using then as leaders with the team is to coach and develop and stretch that individual as opposed to teaching it from scratch.
Yeah, I suppose, Becky, moving on then. So the client benefit, what's the kind of people side? Because it's doesn't happen by just magic of building a playbook and there it goes, all problems are solved. What about the kind of people side of actually getting them to use it?
Yeah, so there was a big change journey for Lace Partners as we went through, and I've got a next couple of slides around how we engaged people to use and get behind the Lace way. So fundamentally changing how we structured and delivered projects across Lace, and how we embedded it, because there's always the shine in something new, which people can get behind, but actually that embedding and keeping it alive actually takes more work. So I thought it'd be quite nice to have a chat, Pip, about how we did both sides of those. So we'd had Method Grid for a number of years. I think we had it like four or 5 years, with some intermittent use in the first couple of years because we didn't really give it a purpose, if you like. We just had it, we didn't really articulate what we were using it for. So we launched it as the Lace Way. So it's a bit of a relaunch, which is a great way to kind of give something an internal brand that resonates, because you've got something now that you can talk about. You know, we had a hashtag Lace Way, so it kind of helps people get behind that. And really trying to sell something that I knew and the exec knew was needed, but just because to say we think you need this wasn't quite landing. So actually we flipped it on its head to say, we've heard you guys who are out there on projects. We know you're finding it tough to find tools and templates. We know that actually sometimes the right hand of the team might not know what the left hand of the team's doing from a process point of view and structure. So we created that burning platform from what the Lace team had shared with us, that they wanted it to be quick, to be easy, they wanted to hit the ground running. So actually it was really powerful to use some of the pain points that had come from the Lace team to play back to say, we've got a solution now, but you need to join us on our journey on the Lace Way. And by doing that, that really played into one of our strong cultural things at Lace, is we are exceptionally inclusive. And we're horizontal, so genuinely everyone was encouraged to play a role, no matter what role you had within Lace. Whether that was testing a playbook, you didn't have to be client facing, you can test a playbook if you're working at our finance team or our HR team, and everyone was encouraged to kind of get involved and play a role, because everyone's got different experiences and can add different elements to those playbooks. We made it big and exciting, which is not always the easiest thing to do when you're talking about playbooks and codification and structure. But we launched ours at a fantastic time over Christmas. So we had like Christmas takeovers. So the elves in the workshop building playbooks, and then what was Santa bringing in his sack as presents to give out to Lacers. So it was a really fun way of kind of bringing it to life. And I think particularly if for us, we'd had method grid and we'd had some kind of process, but it hadn't quite worked previously. We had to fundamentally shift that dial in that excitement to bring it to life, or it'd be like, oh, here they go again talking about something that they've tried to launch and we've not really got behind. So yeah, we made it big and exciting. We made it fun, so obviously keep that in line with your own culture, but all our sprints and after chocolates, because we all love chocolate, and there's a vote every 6 weeks what the next sprint's going to be called. We're in sprint double decker at the moment. We were struggling, we've got sprint E coming up, and we're struggling with what chocolate bars begin with E. And then kind of where we really got some pushback around time and energy and commitment was, can we just use existing forums that are already there? Can we just keep it governance light, is what we called it internally. And one of the reasons for that was everyone's very busy. There's lots of governance meetings. Talking about structure, compliance, consistency can often lead to a governance forum. But we used existing forums that people were already going to be talking about client delivery, and just put an extra agenda item on from a Laceway point of view. So it was a really simple way for us to kind of keep on track of the Laceway, whilst all the fun and games and everything was happening, actually keeping on track underneath that, the delivery and the mechanism to build out these playbooks. But it was a fantastic time. We had squads building out playbooks. They were competitive against each other. How much progress had they made? So it was a real excitement there. But we had the support of our exec, and even today, Sian Beecham, I'll give a plug to, she was one of our biggest sponsors and champions of the Laceway, is posting on LinkedIn this, reposting our links pit that we've put on to promote the webinar and this GRIDtalk. So even now, even though the Laceway has been live now for over 12 months, she's still a massive supporter of it, and it's fantastic to have that kind of exec support when you're plugging away the best you can to make it happen.
I think, you constantly need it, especially, Becky, like when you're scaling, you're constantly bringing in new people into the organization. It's kind of, you kind of forget, look, if we did this when we first started, and 6 months, we're actually completely different makeup of an organization. So you kind of have to keep that energy and that kind of relentless communication going of why it's so critical and important.
Absolutely.
Your sprints, your sprints thing, I think interests me. I think there's when you build playbooks, you can treat it like a transactional affair, whereas I think the ones that get the most out of it have actually put much more of a, I'll use the word like operating model around it, which is, look, how do we build, what's the next playbook that we want to build, or what's the kind of improvement ideas that we need to gather, what have we learned from project A, project B, and how we can improve it. So, yeah, that kind of process that you guys have put in place is fantastic.
Yeah, and sprints are fun. They're short, they're sharp. You're not setting off on a 18-month journey to build out every playbook that's possible. So it's bite-sized chunks. And just in terms of how we embedded that kind of those bite-sized chunks for us in consulting, we all love projects, so it was quite easy for us to align agile ways of working, Kanban. People understood that. That's kind of their DNA and makeup. But what was fantastic about the sprint approach was we trusted toolkit and playbook owners to say, what can you get put in this sprint, and don't kill yourselves to get it done, as in, like, don't overload yourself. We really focused on success versus what hasn't been done. So actually, if you get to the end of the sprint and 60% is completed, that is fantastic. Let's focus on the 60% rather than the 40% that needs to move to the next one. And sometimes in normal project management governance forums, you're looking at the ones that are at risk, that are at red, the negatives, and we didn't want any of that negative connotation around the LACE way, because everyone's doing a fantastic job delivering and building out the LACE way, so let's celebrate that success. We had from a Kanban board, so we have one across all of LACE, and every single person in LACE can give feedback on their toolkits, if you like. So whatever toolkit they're using on their project, we've got that open and transparent Kanban. They can put feedback against any toolkit, any time of day, whenever they want. And then we've got a small Laceway governance team that pick up those bits of feedback, pop it on the backlog, and then we review that the next sprint cycle. So it's quite a quick, fast approach of getting that feedback versus the niggles, over the kettle or the water machine of like, oh gosh, I really struggled using that toolkit, or this client example wasn't quite what I was expecting. We can capture that really quickly and get that into our Kanban board.
Yeah, I think the reality of, when you put yourself in the consultant world, and then you're trying to, can you drive improvements to ways of working? So they are ambitious, and it's kind of, you have to kind of rein it in and say, look, guys, look, it's a good thing to say, look, what can you achieve? It might just be, we get this template fixed and we get that template fixed, but we are constantly moving forward if we're kind of iterative building, because sometimes it's like it can be too much for people, and it's kind of, you get stagnant, it doesn't move. I think the other bit we watch out for is kind of asset behavior as well. So massive encouragement, like sometimes new people pick stuff up and they'll be like, oh, I want to redesign this completely, or I want to build something brand new, I don't like that. And it's kind of, you have to put a bit of governance around. But actually, guys, every time you kind of reset an element or part of our, you're taking it back from like 80%, now you're taking it back to zero, and we're kind of rebuilding. You have to kind of watch out that for that behavior. I think just getting teams vested that they have a voice is a fantastic thing to do.
Absolutely, and to mitigate some of that, I want to redesign every toolkit. That's where the toolkit owner role or playbook owner role is key. And it doesn't have to be a certain level in the organization. Again, that plays to our like horizontal strength. It's actually who's best placed in the organization across LACE to own that toolkit based on their experience and passion. No one has been told you must be a toolkit owner. People have volunteered to be that, and within that playbook ownership, they have their own mini squad, if you like, of passionate people who really genuinely care about that work, and they protect the guardrails and the process and the rules, if you like, that sit within that playbook. So yes, people can put their feedback through, but it has to kind of constantly align to the overall ethos that we're trying to build out in that playbook, which is often consistency, simplified, does what it says on the tin 9 times out of 10, so we don't kind of build that complexity in. Okay, and I think the last bit that I just wanted to talk through is, which we kind of touched on actually in the last 45 minutes, is how we keep the playbooks fresh and up to date. And this is the hard part. Like I said, everyone likes the shiny new stuff at project. Think of any project delivery, you're in the thick of it, you're all working towards one goal, you go live, and then it's hard to maintain. You know, look at your adoption levels, look at your levels of engagement, ensure that you work through all your backlog, all your defects and fixes. And it was just the same for us with the Laceway and the playbooks. So how we keep them fresh and up to date is we're continually updating from an external market insight. So there's no point thinking, oh, we developed it 12 months ago, particularly with a technology lens. Things move so rapidly and so quickly. So within the playbook owner and their squads, they're looking externally all the time, like what new technology is popping up on the market. Is there a new Gartner report that we need to feed into some of our playbooks? We've got the regular feedback through client delivery, so a bit like the governance light. As with any project manager, I'm sure you all run your retrospectives at the end of your project, what worked well, maybe it's by phase, and we just include the Laceway feedback as part of that kind of retrospective that we do anyway when we're looking at closing a client project down, or we've moved on from a phase to phase, and those improvements then come back to the playbook. So we're getting constantly, you know, you can imagine how many different projects we've got on, different playbooks getting used. The retrospectives are a fantastic source for us to keep those playbooks fresh and up to date. And even simple things like if a link doesn't work, that is really frustrating from a user experience. So we can fix that like that. You know, it takes 2 seconds. So something as simple as that actually takes that frustration out of, oh, that link doesn't work, which then can start to, you know, erode all the good reputation we've got from a Laceway. The Kanban is fantastic. We review that every single week. It's great to see people's suggestions and ideas that come through. Innovation, like I said at the beginning, it's one of our core values. So we're constantly looking at ways to innovate, and that really helps to keep us fresh. And then in terms of, you know, the content of the playbook, absolutely is from a Lace point of view, but working with yourself, Pip, and Alice and the team, from Method Grid around functionality that's coming. You know, I know we can provide feedback and then we see those enhancements come through, but also what's your roadmap? Where's your journey going from a Method Grid point of view, whether that be AI or automation? That's been fantastic as well, because what it looked like 18 months ago to now, that's fundamentally different. So it'd be great to think where Method Grid could take it in 18 months' time, and actually how can our playbooks then kind of not keep up with Method Grid and all you need functionality, but actually enhance what we've got there from an offering point of view.
Yeah, I think some Method Grid is down to you, well, to clients basically. I mean, the whole sort of ethos was let's build a solution that we think is based off client feedback and interest. So, I mean, giving all clients a voice on kind of what we build and how we shape the platform is well, we've always enjoyed it. It's kind of why we do the live events each year. But I think the other side of it is we put a massive focus on customer success, mainly because we're doing something different. Hence why we kind of run these events. I share knowledge across clients about the playbook process, but also, you know, the kind of key focus for Rachel and the team is, look, you've got to help clients work out how you get the most out of the platform. And platform isn't really just the features. It tends to be, look, how can I translate this process into a playbook, and how best do you do that? And that's the kind of support that we have to focus on providing. Either you just call us directly and chat to us on Teams, or it's just, you know, we'll do sort of more sessions like this or more bespoke kind of 1 hour sessions with clients. I think the whole point you sort of make here, and I think the key bit about Method Grid is, if that kind of toolkit knowledge just lives on the shelf, i.e. it's just a static resource, I don't think you'd get as much feedback. I think forcing it into delivery where the kind of playbook is a tool that's used by consultants, broken by consultants, stretched and pulled apart, and clients are pulling it apart as well. Well, if you can harvest the learning that you get from that and you get the feedback, you'll get really honest feedback. That really does sort of drive better continuous improvement, because it's not, oh, we need to draw a new process map for X, Y, and Z. It's kind of, yeah, the link doesn't work, the template's rubbish. Actually, this client has this deliverable, it's really useful. Why don't we try and see if we can do that and offer it to other clients? You learn from that and build that IP. But I think if that IP isn't used, then yeah, it's just becomes shelfware, which is the sort of main point.
Yeah, and I think there was some other feedback on a session that we did together in London, and it was, but how do you stop people taking it personally if they're getting feedback on a playbook that they own? And actually, because it's so transparent, it's not, Becky, I don't like your playbook because X, Y, and Z. It has to be, this could be improved, this could be better, and everybody is in that kind of collective to make things better and to improve, as opposed to let's strip it apart and poke holes at it, So I think that is definitely that ethos, which is similar to how we work with yourselves. It's how can we improve and make things better versus this isn't great. How do and it's more of a negative conversation. I actually want to focus more on the positives and how we can make things better.
Yeah, it comes down to kind of your kind of innovation, that culture, but probably not just as it's not just words on a slide. It's lived and breathed. And I think that's kind of we're just happy that we're supporting you with the sort of platform that allows you to kind of facilitate that innovation.
Yeah, which is, and sometimes I don't think you can get innovation from structure and consistency in a playbook that's cloned, right? It feels like, well, that's not very innovative. There's so much structure in there, but actually the innovation comes from the content, from the usage, from its application, from getting that feedback. It's everything that sits outside that structure that allows for that innovation to happen.
I think we did a talk at GRIDtalk Live, and I said you can't innovate on sand. It's a lot harder, and if your playbook doesn't exist and you're trying to innovate it and improve kind of how do we get better, more efficient, more effective, but if that's playbook's been reinvented every single time, you're never going to innovate that.
No,
it's just it's just failed attempts each time. Right, I think that kind of draws us to a close. So well, not close, sorry, time for questions. So we've got a few. Stuart, as someone who loves structure, loving the LACE way, and how fun you've made it the rollout, how are LACE new starter staff trained on the LACE way?
Oh, well, they have an intimate session with me on the LACE way expert, we call it. But you can obviously tell I'm very passionate about the LACE way. So within their first week, they'll meet me or a member of the LACE way team to bring it to light to why we need to do this. And actually the feedback, particularly in week one, is I feel so much more confident now that I know I'm going to be trained on something because you've got a structure and a toolkit. So that kind of initial first 2 or 3 days, giving somebody confidence that we're going to help them. And then we do it in bite-sized chunks. So we've got 3 practices, we've got a lot of playbooks. So actually we look at what project they're going on to, what role will they play in that project, and therefore what playbook would they be using, and we focus an immersion purely on that playbook. And then once they get the handle of like getting into method grid, understanding the user guide, the tiles, the elements, the links, when they go on to the next project, then we then do the same again, but that goes to their line manager to kind of support them through the use of that toolkit, whereas the initial one is with the project lead to try and get them up to speed as quickly as we can. And then as more projects, the later goes on more projects, the more playbooks that they would get exposure to. So it would be very hard to find one lacer who's used all of our playbooks, particularly because we have some that are unique to practices. But yeah, it's a bite-sized chunk, but that initial 2 or 3 days when they first started, when you started to like, they're very excited, they're very buzzy, they've chose to work for you, you've chose them. It's a fantastic time to really reinforce why we need to have the LACE way and why it's important for that structure and consistency, and it gives them confidence, but also it gives us confidence that they understand why it is we're doing the LACE way.
I think just on that, I think and we're going to talk about this is kind of the other use cases for playbooks, like for HR settings. One of the most kind of common playbooks we build now for most clients is the very simple, like the staff onboarding playbook, or more recent ones, kind of graduate scheme playbook, and it's just theory being I used method grid from day one. It kind of guides me through, here's my mandatory training, here's the kind of policies, procedures, this is my team, this is kind of helps them navigate that joining journey. but it also gets them used to method grid, because come and behold, the first project they get given, they'll be given a playbook, and therefore it's just a natural, well, I kind of know how I use the tool.
Yeah, definitely. And we had an early careers cohort last year. We're going to use method grid this year to build out that playbook for the early careers, because actually, graduates, there's a lot of them, and you're trying to make sure that everyone's consistent in their approach. They might not have the same manager, the same delivery lead, so that's what it really lends to. But it'd be good to see, is there any other HR use cases around like internal performance management? That's a process that people go through. We've got a process that we follow internally, but is that something that we could use from a playbook point of view? Because it's a consistent, structured approach, but again, individualized, which is similar to the early careers and onboarding playbook.
We do I don't think we've made it a template, but we do have like a POS playbook, like people performance, which is, it's not trying to replace the HR. At some point you've got to go to an HR system and say exceeds or meets, you fill in the data. What we recognized was actually, you're setting people objectives, they've got tasks, they've got feedback, they've got targets, they want to talk about it. Actually, this quarter, no, I can't achieve that one, I want to move that around and prioritize it, and it naturally felt like a good playbook. So we use it internally, and it's been really good, and we use stage gates for the kind of half year second review, and we get feedback from managers. So yeah, happy to.
Oh, well, that'd be good. We can share that. Yeah, we can. Cool. That's the next one on the list for the backlog.
Jonathan, does LACE find many organizations who have requirements that sit far outside the kind of playbook, and how are these managed, like case by case, separate projects?
Yeah, so it's a really interesting question, Jonathan, and not as often as we thought. We thought actually with the playbook, is this going to limit us in terms of us being able to tailor that to a need? We have a couple of clients who have asked for support on something that we haven't even got a playbook on. So people transition, for example, how to transition from one organization to another, say it's TUPE or merger or takeover, and we don't have a playbook on that. But with that opportunity, actually we build the playbook together. So we agree from LACE what would our approach be, but actually let's test that with client. And we're quite upfront to say, we've got all the learnings and we've got the wealth of experience in people, but let us work with you on how we can build that toolkit out, because it's new for them as well. So yeah, there's always challenges with client, but we don't tend to find within existing playbooks that we get stretched too far out of where we are. It's when there's a requirement for a brand new one, if you like, a new service that people are asking us to partner them on that we might not have delivered previously.
I think that comes to that kind of stranger playbook. When you like design like a generic project program delivery playbook, and maybe it doesn't have any of the specialization in it, but it's got like a plan, and it's got all of that standard stuff in, then really it becomes, okay, well, how do we structure and tailor and right size this for type of a solution that we want to do? But yeah, having that freedom to do it is good. Yeah. Emma, one from Emma. What is the one biggest thing that your users wish to have the playbook do?
Oh, that's an interesting one, isn't it? Fill it in itself, probably, because you still have to do some admin on the playbook. I think there's definitely something that we're looking into around the clone and exporting project plans into things like Planner, so it's easier for us to share more widely, particularly if certain clients haven't got access. So yeah, I think it's more around how can we get information into it quicker. So some of the team feel like, oh, I'm having to go in and update this task list. Actually, could some AI or something read that we've done that already on the plan, and therefore update the task list? So it's probably more around the usability of that, trying to be as efficient as possible for them on their admin side.
Cool. That's one. I'll feed that back to Jodie. If you had to roll out the playbook to over 100,000 users, would you do anything different to gain engagement and improve embedment?
Well, I think any change strategy to 100,000 users would definitely be something different. I think from a LACE point of view, I don't know how our culture would be at 100,000 strong. And a lot of the things that we could roll out was because of our size, and we doubled our growth, but we were still quite a small, medium-sized organisation. I think the things that we would probably think to do differently from a change point of view is still have that overall sponsor. You still need to get that from the top. I know that's bread and butter, everybody says that, but the importance of having that champion really does make all the difference. And having people on the team who genuinely believe in it and are passionate about it. So I'm exceptionally passionate about the Laceway, and therefore we'll talk about it for hours and hours on end. And if you can find people within the team who've got that passion for whatever you're delivering, you get that buy-in and you get it quicker, as opposed to you've been assigned to this project to do the comms on it, and it's just a task on their to-do list rather than something that they genuinely believe in.
Yeah. Right. Conscious it's 2 o'clock, and we're normally always quite prompt on time. So Becky, thank you so much for taking us through the Laceway, guys, and thank you for giving us an hour this month. Next month, these are the resources, by the way. This I'll send the deck out with it, so there's kind of resources to what a playbook looks like, a bit about the white paper as well for how you build playbooks. But yeah, just to conclude, next month, more of a deep dive on process to playbook. Becky, you can. We're hopefully going to talk about that, but we'll save that for next month. So
Definitely.
Please, if you can, I think it's Wednesday, 24th of July, 1 till 2. Please come along and join us. Okay, guys, have a fantastic weekend. Take care.
Thanks, everybody.